to welcome everyone today. Good afternoon. I am Trustee Lydia Dominguez, and I would like to call this Audit Advisory Committee of August 14th, 2026 to order. The time is 3 o'clock. I would like to remind everyone to silence your electronic devices. And I would like to also welcome our new committee member, Mr. Steve Maiello. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
And with that, we're going to start with the flag salute. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Before I open item 1.02, is there anyone who did not get a chance to complete a public speaker card? So please do it now. Okay, so and we're going to move on to 1.02, adoption of the agenda. Will a member make a motion to approve the agenda?
This is Member Thornberry. I'll make a motion to approve.
Member Binder, I'll second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Committee Member Thornberry, Mr. Thornberry, and a second by Ms. Anna Binder. Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Oh, and I hear we have Miss Elizabeth Hammer on the phone.
Yes, that's correct. I'm on the line.
Could I get your vote, please?
Yes, I also vote yay.
Thank you. Okay, and moving on to 2.01. Oh, thank you. The discussion and possible action of the election of the chairperson for Clark County School District Board of Trustees Audit Advisory Committee for the 2026-2027 fiscal year. This is for possible action. So I'll open it up to discussion.
For the committee, I would like to express interest.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Thornberry.
And from the committee, I would as well.
Thank you, Ms. Binder. And so we're going to take this one at a time. And so as I'll be leading this meeting, and then for the next meeting, the next chairperson will lead the meeting. So we'll just keep it consistent. So if nobody else has any discussion, Ms. Hammer, do you have any discussion?
No, I do not.
Okay. So I'll take the motion first. So by Mr. Thornberry, Throne. Oh, my apologies. Do I have a second?
You have to do public.
Member Hammer, second the motion.
Public comment first. My apologies. A little backwards. Okay, so we're gonna step back and we're gonna go back into public comment. And first up is Mr. Gomez.
No. David Gomez, for the record, Nevada Peace Alliance president. Some of you know me, some don't, but that's okay. The times I've been at these audit advisory meetings, I have seen with diligence. Anna Binder has been one of our most outspoken and diligent parent and advisory meeting, or advisory committee meeting member, always being there to advise the school board of what's happening, the who, what, where, when, and whys. Now, I have nothing against the other gentleman that elected himself in interest, but I see this to be a true nature of what we should and how we should conduct things. And how that should be done is those who are diligent and are willing to always be there, to always be available to express themselves, whether it be to the financial department and their team, whether it be to their own committee members or to the school board. There has been, after 27 years of doing this, there has been maybe a few times that Ms. Binder has missed meetings for the school board, but that's because she has a family as well. you know, but she's always there. She's always doing her job. She's always making sure that we're always informed on what's happening in the community on our spectrum. So to move forward with being a CEO of companies and being different positions here in Clark County School District, I would say that anybody in their right mind would elect Anna Binder as the chairperson because we understand what it is she does, how long she's been doing it, and how diligent she is to dedication to our school district. It's more than just being a person that's sitting in here all the time and just talking. It's about being involved. And being involved is the most important thing that we need in our community, especially with so much disenfranchisement, especially with the budget and stuff. And I'm glad that we have our new CFO. But just to be clear, Nevada Peace Alliance and any other organization that stands behind me would stand with my choice of electing Anna Binder as the chairperson for this committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. And we just, okay, so we have one motion and 1 second. And then we just have, and then welcome, we have our committee member, Mr. Hoffman. Please take a seat. Thank you. And then, you know what, I think I skipped over discussion. We did discussion a little bit, but we moved into a motion. So do we have any other discussion for anyone? I'll open that up for everybody.
This is Member Thornberry. I'll just share a little bit for those that don't know me. I've been on the committee since 2023. My background is in corporate investigations, audit, and physical security. Currently serve as the Vice President of Economic Crime Fusion Center for Barclays, as well as served for nearly 7 years on the City of Las Vegas Audit Oversight Committee to include as chairman. I'm a certified internal auditor, certified fraud examiner, president of the Las Vegas chapter of the ACFE, as well as hold certifications in information security management and cybersecurity. So look forward to the committee discussion. I do appreciate my colleagues' experience as well as a vocal member and long-term member of the committee. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thornberry. And I would like to open it up, so go ahead, Ms. Binder.
Thank you, Trustee Dominguez. And thank you, Joe. You have been. So I've been a member of this committee since early 2001. And our public comment was not exaggerating when I have literally dedicated my life to this. So although I don't come with a lot of the accolades that my colleague here has, I have spent in all of these years, and especially over the last almost 2 years, nonstop work in helping revise our governance policies to get us to do even more work for the community. I have only missed one of their work sessions, which are 7-8 hour long day meetings over it. I actively engage with the trustees to get us to some documents you're going to see on the agenda today. And kind of really move the spirit of even more transparency and accountability forward, which is part of the vision of the Board of the Trustees. And our prior chair, it didn't hit public comment, but it will be there after the meeting, but our prior chair, Josh Robinson, has sent a nomination for me to be our next chair. So as anyone who does know me, my heart and soul is into trying to improve everything that I can help with in this district for our children, our staff, and our community. So with that, I will close it.
Thank you, Ms. Binder. Does anyone have any other discussion? Ms. Hammer?
No further discussion.
Thank you. Okay, so we are going to go back into motion mode. So we have a motion on the table. Motion by our committee member, Mr. Thornberry, and second by committee member, Ms. Hammer. And we'll move into a vote.
Can you say what it's for? Because Hoffman wasn't here
Yes.
when the vote was.
Yeah, I'll refresh you. So we are here for 2.01 for the election of chairperson. Thank you. Okay, so I will. You said yes?
You know what the motion's for?
Yeah, the motion's for you to become.
No, this current motion is for Joe.
Yeah.
The first
Yeah.
motion that got made is for Joe.
Yeah.
Yes, because Joe's not,
Yeah.
is no longer with us, yeah.
No, Josh is no longer
Sorry,
with us.
Joshua is no longer with us.
Right,
My
and,
fault.
okay,
So
how about we
we'll-
restate the motion?
I'll clarify.
Joe?
I'll clarify.
Madam Chairperson, Joe Caruso for the record. If I may ask the members to please state their name for the record, because for the transcription, we do need to have it on the record. So if we could just make sure that we do use the microphone and state the name if there's a question.
I see. So when you push the button on the microphone, please state your name, and then we can have that discussion. So I'll restate the motion. So we're all on the same page. So currently, we're on 2.01 for the election of the chairperson. Currently, the nomination is for Mr. Thornberry. Motion by committee member Thornberry and second by committee member Ms. Hammer.
But there's a second motion. Hoffman wasn't here, he didn't hear all of that.
I just restated it.
I know, but there's also a second motion on, or,
We're going to take one motion at a time.
I just wanted to make sure he knows there was a second nomination.
We don't got to go through the play-by-play. I just went through it. So are you on board with what's happening? Okay, great. Okay, so we're going to go through and we're just going to take a aye or a nay. So everybody, if you could, are we doing hands or how would we like to go one by one or?
Madam Chairperson, if we could, Joe Caruso for the record, if we could have just speak into the microphone, just so we have it on the record,
Okay,
what their vote is.
all right. So if one by one? Okay, one by one, committee members, starting with committee member Hoffman. If you could state your vote.
Yeah. Hoffman David Madzu. I vote for Joe.
It's either
Oh,
aye or
sorry.
nay.
Aye.
Okay.
Member Thornberry, aye.
Member Binder, no.
Member Hammer, aye.
Member Maiello? No.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we have a 3 majority, and I have counted it as committee member Thornberry as being our chairperson. So congratulations. Awesome. So, and then we are going to be moving on to the next agenda item. Okay, so approval of the minutes and discussion for possible action on the approval of the minutes from the meeting of February 18th to 2026 is recommended for possible action. And I have this a little backwards, so. Okay, so do I have a motion by a committee member? This is to approve the approval of the minutes from the last meeting.
This member Thornberry, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second?
Member Hoffman Madzu, I second.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. From 2.03, review of the open meeting law, legal issues present, and I will open it up to our council.
I don't believe that there was a vote or a public comment.
I'm sorry, my script did not have that part. My apologies. We will backtrack. So we need a vote for the approval of the minutes. If we can go one by one, starting by committee member Hoffman.
Could you just ask for public comment since it's for a possible action?
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. I am mixed up today. I'm going to open it up to public comment. Anybody that wants to fill out a yellow comment card? Seeing none? closing public comment, and I will open it up for a vote.
Member Thornberry, aye.
Member Madu, aye.
Member Maiello, aye.
Member Binder, aye.
Member Hammer, aye.
Thank you. And I appreciate everybody's patience with me as I roll through this. So we will move on to the next 2.03, and I will hand it over to our general counsel.
Thank you. So this is an abbreviated kind of review of the open meeting law, since we have some new committee members to this committee. And it's really just a refresher in terms of some of the main things to keep in mind as you are conducting these meetings. If you will see in reference item number 2.03, or the supporting materials to that agenda item, there's kind of a sheet here that goes through some of the main statutory provisions, including their definitions that are pertinent for purposes of open meeting. And I will kind of go through some of that just to provide you all kind of, again, this overview on open meeting law and kind of the implications and their application to these committee meetings. So with respect to the open meeting law, you will see here that there's legislative declaration and intent regarding what the legislature has found with respect to public bodies and the meetings that they conduct. So in passing these, what we refer to as statutes as open meeting law, the legislature found and declared the following. So all public bodies exist to aid in the conduct of the people's business. It is the intent of the law that their actions be taken openly and that their deliberations be conducted openly. This just reinforces that the spirit and policy behind the open meeting law favors open meetings, and any exceptions thereto are to be strictly construed. So one of the rules of thumb is, when in doubt, make it public. That being said, it doesn't mean that the public runs the meetings, okay? Now, with respect to some of the definitions here, one of the main one is the definition of public bodies. I'll kind of cut to the chase, but the Clark County School District Board of School Trustees and all of its committees are subject to the open meeting law. So this committee is a committee of the Board of School Trustees and therefore is subject to open meeting law requirements. That's why periodically you may hear me chime in on certain requirements and making sure that we follow the procedure laid out by this law. Present, here you will see that the definition of present means that someone can be physically present within this meeting, or they can also be present by use of remote technology. This is important to keep in mind as we move along with respect to what may be considered serial meetings, and how it's important for you to keep in mind that the definition of present goes beyond simply just being present in this format. With respect to action, well, I'll kind of skip to the next page with respect to the definition of meeting. A meeting is a gathering of members of a public body in which there is a quorum. And again, this means in person or by means of electronic communications, and it's to deliberate toward a decision or to take action on any matter. There's a lot of terms there, but you have to keep in mind that, again, the purpose of the definition of a meeting is when you have a quorum of this committee, for example, where there may be deliberation on an action. Those are key terms to keep in mind because there is what we refer to as the possibility of a serial meeting. In short, where these situations may arise is through email communications, where you may inadvertently have a quorum of this membership, and especially because there's not too many of you all in this committee, it could happen, where you reach a quorum and there is some indication of deliberation on something that may come before the committee. So here's an example. If there is an information item that is presented to you and some of the committee members may express their opinions on the information item or may express some type of deliberation on some of that information, and there's conversation between the committee's members that happened to coincide with a quorum, whether or not you intended that to or not, and that was supposed to come before the committee at some point, that could in and of itself potentially violate the open meeting law. We call these serial meetings. It's something to be conscientious of. And so if you receive some type of communication where we put a disclaimer there, this is for information item, please don't express your opinion, no deliberation, keep that in mind. We're not just doing that for purposes of, including a disclaimer there. It's to ensure that we're complying with open meeting and that any type of deliberation or action on whatever it may be is appropriately brought in an open meeting. There's a provision here, or at least an example here, regarding exempt meetings and proceedings. There are certain things that are not subject to being before, the public, but again, those are few and far between. I go back to the rule of thumb that if there is any doubt, those exceptions are very limited, and it should be brought before an open public meeting. As you know, there is generally as you may know, there is generally a requirement that there be written notice of all meetings. They must be given at least 3 working days before the meeting. That is why you may see, certain procedural requirements as to when agenda items need to be, submitted for consideration, and ultimately when an agenda gets posted. This is again to ensure that we're comporting with these legal requirements. With respect to the agenda, there are very specific requirements under this open meeting law regarding the agenda. First and foremost, there must be a clear and complete statement of the topics to be considered during the meeting. A list of those items on which the public body may take action have to have a notation for possible action next to the appropriate items. You may see at times that on the agenda there is no notation for possible action. That's generally because no action is supposed to be taken, and it's simply an information or deliberation or discussion item. Periods devoted to public comment, you will see in the agendas that whenever there is an agenda item for possible action, those trigger public comment. There are some exceptions to open meeting, but the format of this committee has historically been that every agenda item that denotes for possible action after a discussion by the committee members will require public comment or the opportunity for there to be public comment before there is any action, motions, and seconds taken. If the public body will be closing a portion of the meeting to consider certain items, there are certain procedural mechanisms in place. I don't believe that this is generally a committee that handles those types of situations, but we point it out because there is a possibility at some point for a public body to close a portion of their meeting for very certain limited exceptions. I will note that items on the agenda may be taken out of order. That is permissible, and the public body can combine 2 or more agenda items for consideration. They may also remove an item from the agenda or delay discussion relating to an item on the agenda at any time. That being said, an item that is not on the agenda is not for deliberation or discussion. One of the things from our perspective that we at times may remind committee members of is to ensure that the deliberation and discussion is actually within the confines of the agenda item and does not tend to deviate away from them, because that may be outside the scope of what was public notice was appropriately provided for. Again, I will remind you that you may only discuss and act on what is on the agenda, and this is based on a lot of guidance that has been provided through the Attorney General's office. There are on the agenda, as you can see, additional requirements such as accommodation, special notice, and the need for potential emergency meetings to take place. Generally, again, this is not something that this committee necessarily needs to concern themselves about, especially given the manner in which the bylaws are written and the number of meetings that this committee may or may not be required to do. I will note as well that any action taken in violation of the open meeting law, which could happen if certain requirements are not met, is actually void. That is one of the repercussions of maybe not following the procedural mechanisms under the open meeting law. So it will be deemed void. One other thing, not to scare you, but we do like to remind everyone that there are criminal and civil penalties associated with potential open meeting law violations. We say this is just a friendly reminder in terms of this is not something that we are just, requiring you to do. This is something that's statutory and does have some repercussions. There are some civil penalties associated for like a first offense, which you will see is $500, for a second offense, $1,000, and for a third or subsequent offense, $2,500. Okay, I will open the floor for any questions.
Thank you. And I want to really give an opportunity to our new committee members, because this is your opportunity to ask questions on this, and it is a lot. And so if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Member Maiello, in regards to emails, is that text also, or any other type of?
Yes, it can be, yes. So with technology, the goal again is deliberation and/or action is supposed to be before the public. And so to the extent that there is something coming before the committee or maybe coming before the committee, we say wait for that to be agendized before there's any type of deliberation between committee members that could hit that quorum and ultimately constitute a serial meeting.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Ms. Hammer, our committee member, I don't want to forget you up there. Do you have
Member
any
Hammer,
questions?
I don't have any questions on this session. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee member Hoffman, do you have any questions? No? Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are moving along. So we are now moving into 2.04, Ethics Point Incident Management, and that is by the lovely Miss Roanne Triana. Oh, I'm sorry, are you taking
Nope,
this
you're
one on?
fine. I
Did
was
I
going
have
to
the wrong
recognize
one?
her.
Roanne Triana, Chief of Human Resources. So excited to be with you this afternoon. At this time, I'd like to hand it over to the fabulous Chris Greathouse, who oversees this great work.
Thank you. Trustee Dominguez, members of the board. I would like to also recognize my colleague Christy Guida behind me from EMR. So I'm here to present Ethics Point Incident Management. We have the information that was provided to you in your packets, and this is looking at a time period from January 28, 2026 through July 24 of 2026. For reference, there was 135 cases during that time period, and for this committee, it's been asked to look at 5 specific issue categories. So in that same time period, we have the number of cases or counts for each of those issue categories that this committee has asked us to present to you. I will point out that under falsification of contracts, reports, and records, there are 8 issues that were reported during this time period. And I would like to note that 4 of those were submitted by the same individual with very similar allegations for each of those 4. And as has been asked in the past of me to go over the actual cases with as much detail as I can share, I was going to go ahead and do that if that's okay with the committee.
Yes, go ahead, Mr.
All right,
Greathouse.
thank you. So looking at the first category, which is accounting, auditing, and internal financial controls, we did have 1 report during this time period. Just to give you a little item of what they said, the reporter stated that the budgeting, accounting, and financial practices of a particular high school football program and athletic department in general should be investigated. Athletics is tens of thousands of dollars in debt. So this was reported or sent to the school associate superintendent over that high school. They actually met with the financial and internal audit department. They went through the information that they had, and sounds like internal audit was already looking at this. They were going to have a priority audit that was going to come of this. The financial department said they were going to finish their internal audit, work with the school, and then they would notify that SAS of the outcome of the report. So that's where we had for that one. So that was one that was actually investigated by internal audit along with our department and reviewed. The next one is the falsification of contracts, reports, and records. This is the one where we had 8, 4 of them being a repeat, and I'll kind of go over those for you. So the first one, the reporter stated there was a fabrication of a disciplinary entry at the school site. Remember that the individual reporting, for those who are new on the committee, they get to choose where it falls. There's more than just these 5. There's probably about 20 different drop downs that they can choose from, anywhere from unprofessional conduct, other. So they get to choose actually the category that they feel that it falls in. This one, they chose falsification of contract reports and records. They most likely chose it because they felt that a report at the school site was being inaccurately reported. May not fall directly in line with this committee, but it was reported as that. And for this one, it was reviewed and looked at by one of the assistant human resources officers who's been working with that case. It's kind of a case that's been coming up again and again, and so one of the assistant human resources officers has been handling that case. The next one is one of the 4 that's a repeat. So this reporter wanted to let us know that there were some policy violations, some licensure noncompliance, federal funding misrepresentation, testing manipulation under a principal of a particular school. And they indicated due to this documented pattern of administrative retaliation resulting in high teacher turnover, they submitted this report. They went on in another one to say that there was serious ethical and legal violations at the same school. In their third report, they more or less restated what they had already stated before. And then again, in the fourth report, repeated again serious and ongoing violations of teacher licensure, administrative reporting, academic integrity. This one was reviewed by the school associate superintendent, and all appropriate actions they reported that all appropriate actions were taken and that the case had been closed out. The next one in the same category, this reporter alleged a violation involving the deletion of behavior referrals. So again, a records issue within the Infinite Campus system. And for this one, the principal was notified and reached out to our Infinite Campus to see what logs they could get in regards to this. They worked with the Employee Management Relations Department, and eventually we reached back out to the reporter because we did not have enough information based on what was given to us and what we could find. And the reporter did not provide any more information to us after we asked. They went silent. So we had nothing more to go on, and that case was closed. All right, this case, the reporter stated that they talked to another colleague while they're at lunch. The colleague had reported that they had a past criminal history for a conviction regarding a minor. So it was forwarded to our school principal to look at. They reached out to the Human Resources Department. They also reached out to my department, EMR, and they looked into the person, and the report back to us was that there was no concern with the background check that was completed on that employee, and it was informally addressed that conversations should be work appropriate to the employee who was having these conversations at lunch. The next one, the reporter stated that an assistant principal had erased a behavior referral from that another teacher had made and believed it was under the direction of the principal. That one was reviewed by a school associate superintendent and was found to be unfounded. The next category is misuse of assets and services. For this one, the reporter, who was actually a community member, reported waste on CCSD resources, fuel vehicles. They saw one of our vehicles at a shopping center. Let's see, they were at the Assistance League parking lot, saw the person walking around the store. We sent it to the director over the department that that vehicle belonged to, and we were informed that it was actually a Title I Hope employee who was on district business, conducting inventory and reporting for their grants and budgeting purposes, and that this person should have been at that location at that time and doing what they were doing. And then the last one is under the embezzlement category. This reported admin is selling items to students without involving the school banker, using the said proceeds as a slush fund for their personal use, selling student lanyards, tickets to movies, dances. They reported there was a new vending machine, that proceeds are directly pocketed, and lots more. This one I actually worked myself with the school associate superintendent, who met with internal audit, also with school banking, got all of our school banking reports for that individual school, went through line by line of all of the reports that were made with all the information that was shared with us. And at the conclusion of the investigation, through the analysis of all the accounts and the reports that were concerned, there was no evidence of any violations, and the case was ultimately closed out. And then under inappropriate use of technology, we did not have any reports for this time period. I'd like to thank you, and if you have any questions.
Perfect, thank you. And so committee members, this is your opportunity for discussion and to ask questions, please.
Member Maiello, I had a question on the first one, accounting, auditing, and internal financial controls, the high school football. Is that school bank funds? Is what they're said that they're taking? Is that what it is?
Yeah, let me find that one again. Sorry, there were a lot of cases this time, assets. What category did you have that one under? Oh, sorry, the very first one that we talked about. So they were reporting high school football program and athletics department in general. So
was it budget funds or was it school banking funds?
let me see if the reporter gave any more details.
Yes.
Member Binder, for the record, like school-generated funds, I think is the term, right? Because that's what athletic funds raise.
Brian Fry, for the record, Director of Internal Audit. If I can just jump in. So my understanding of the allegation was surrounding the football department at this school, and that it really doesn't matter where the funding is coming from, but ultimately they were alleging that the football department was in debt through a very specific vendor. And so we haven't issued that report formally yet, but that is an audit that we will be closing out very shortly. I can say confidently that we investigated thoroughly. We performed confirmations with not just the specific vendor that was identified, but multiple vendors. And those vendors were able to give us complete assurance that no outstanding balance existed in any of these areas. And so ultimately, that specific allegation was determined to be unfounded. Thank you.
Thank you.
Member Thornberry, thank you, Mr. Pfeiffer, answering that. That was going to be my next question, whether the audit was complete. For the ethics point cases going forward, I think the at least from my opinion, the committee would benefit is to the disposition of the cases. So rather than just a count, are they in progress? The outcome, whether they're substantiated, unfounded, that context would be helpful. And more of a question for our new internal audit director regarding ethics point. In this case, you're incorporating that launch, that was already under investigation. How do you plan on taking the ethics point information, reviewing that, and incorporating that into the audit plan? Because a lot of control failures can come from the information that's being reported, and with the ethics point system, very, very valuable. How are you going to incorporate that into an audit plan or on one-off audits? I know you're budgeted for the special audit category throughout the year, but if you could talk a little bit more on that. Sorry.
Thank you, committee member. If you could rephrase your question.
Yes, so in this case, the audit's still ongoing, so I was going to ask you what control failures were in place. You indicated there's none. But in terms of the cases that are presented today under the count, have there been any control failures identified?
Brian Fry for the record. If it's okay, can we table that for another future agenda item? When we get into the risk assessment, I think that'll just be a more appropriate venue, if that's okay.
Okay.
That'll work. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to go to Ms. Hammer if you have any questions.
Member Hammer, no questions.
Thank you. I will open it up to a new committee member, Mr. Hoffman.
Member Madzun, no questions.
Thank you. Going back, Ms. Binder?
Member Binder, so when that is fully completed, is that going to be reflected like in the next quarter findings for school audits?
Brian Fry for the record, correct. Yes.
Okay. I have questions, if I'm going to open it up for myself. So this is my first committee here, and I watched online, but kind of in it is a little different. So I'm trying to understand. So you kind of gave a verbal report, and I know I'm looking at this data, and I'm trying to understand what the data is saying. So you got 35 cases. Are they 35 open cases, closed cases, or just total?
Chris Greathouse for the record. Trustee Dominguez, members of the committee. So are you referencing the 135 cases?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. So that's for the time period from the very last time we had this report ran for this committee to 7/24, to July 24th. So just reporting, letting the committee know how many total cases there were. The report has changed. Those committee members who were here in the past saw a bar graph that was that came out of the actual system. At the last meeting, it was asked that these 5 category issues, which was expanded from 2 to 5 at the last meeting, be addressed in this committee. The other items don't particularly fall to this committee with what's reported. So we still wanted to report the number of cases from the last time period to the current, to today, so that the committee would at least know how many we had during that period.
Thank you. And so are these the count number that we have here? We have 11. So are those the only ones that are open from the 135?
Chris Greathouse for the record, Trustee Dominguez, members of the committee. So this actually does not reflect open cases. Okay. We do a monthly report internally to know how many cases that we have that are open. It typically is about 8 that are open. To be honest, Trustee Dominguez, probably 97 to 98% of these are closed out to be unfounded. Okay. It's a very, very small percentage that move on through any type of investigation.
I see. So this data that we're receiving, are you giving us the monthly, or are you giving what data am I receiving here?
The report that's in front of you?
Yes.
So that is for a specific time period in time, from January 28, 2026 through July 24th of 2026. The total number of cases was 135. And of those 135, there were 11 cases that fell to this committee's interest.
I see. Got it. Okay. So we're working my brain. So and the other question I had, that just to understand, you went through a few behavioral reports. I'm trying to understand why we're talking about behavioral reports on an audit advisory committee.
Good question, and I can admit those in the future if the committee would like that. The individual who goes on to either the internet or makes a phone call to make an ethics point report, there are 20-ish categories they can choose from. And that was the category that this individual did as the dropdown that led to it pulling up on the report for this. So like the one, falsification of contracts, reports, records, obviously that's gonna fall outside of this board if it's, items that are more school-based, infinite campus and so forth. But I can omit those in the future if the board would so please me, if you want me to do that.
I'm hesitant to do that because I would like to, I don't want to let staff start moving stuff around, right? And so if it was reported and it might have been misreported or wrongly categorized, that's okay, you can speak to that, but I don't want to start moving things around. So I'll go ahead with, I saw his hand up first, I'm so sorry. Committee Member Thornberry?
Yeah, Member Thornberry, I would echo my fellow committee member. The report context leaves a lot of unanswered questions. I think we have the right issue categories, but having the additional details as to the disposition, whether the turnaround time, maybe year to date, month to date, as well as knowing how we're trending. Are we getting more complaints in this year over last year? A lot more information. I did like our bar graphs before, but just having the account, the count number, there's no comparison. So looking at this sheet, I can't tell if we're on the right track. Are we improving, not improving? Understandably, there may be multiple, someone may pick every category, unfortunately, and instead of the most appropriate one. So just on those, knowing that it was miscategorized or that if the final adjudication placed it in a different category would be helpful.
Ms. Binder?
Member Binder for the record. So at our last meeting that we went over this, I thought we had a really thoughtful discussion on what the report might look like, which did include some of those things Member Thornberry said. But I didn't get a chance to grab my binder before coming here today. But I don't disagree with all of those recommendations, but I do believe there were a couple more. Because as you mentioned, Mr. Greathouse, we went from only getting reports for 2 categories. We opened that into more categories because we don't have control over what people click on that drop-down menu. And then as well as getting that follow-up, because when we're getting, and we might be able to address this at another agenda item, but the rate at which we get these reports, like Joe was saying, is like the turnover and then the outcomes and stuff. And then also another category, like I had asked in my previous question, is, do those get added to a future report where we actually see, in our bigger pie graph of any findings, non-findings, or things like that. And then, but I would like to, and Joe, I'm sorry, Mr. Caruso, if you have any notes from that last meeting, because we spent quite a bit of time on this conversation at that meeting.
Sure. Madam Chairperson, members of the committee, Superintendent Ebert, Joe Caruso for the record. So you actually have the notes. If you look, the minutes from the meeting are in your packet. So February 18th, 2026. And if you look on page, let's see. Page number 17 of 54. It's second from the top, 2.04 Ethics Point Incident Management.
Just to be respectful of everyone's time, again, we did have a thorough discussion about the contents of this report at our last meeting. So I would think we could maybe also leave room in a future agenda item to give our new members time to catch up and get acclimated with the reportings that we get, because they have changed a couple times since we started getting them.
Okay, nice, thank you. Okay, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead and jump in, thank you.
Member Maiello, I had a question. If I'm someone from the public and I have an issue with some of these categories, are there simple definitions to explain what these different categories are so I can actually do it properly?
Chris Grayhouse for the record. Trustee Dominguez, members of the committee, there is not a definition for each of the categories in the system. It's simply a drop-down list that they select from.
Is there the ability to add some simple definitions, if that's possible, for these categories? Which would make the data better.
Chris Grayhouse for the record, members of the committee, Trustee Dominguez. I believe that would be a customization of the program. It's a very, very limited program of what we have of it reporting. We get an email that says there was a report made, and when the report's made, we review what was reported by the individual and then make a determination of who it needs to go to in the district. Most of them either go to the school associate superintendents or go to a school principal. The email that they get tells them to take the information that was in the ethics point. If they'd like to ask further questions, they can send us those questions and we will send them back through the system to the individual making the report. Most of the time, the person does not respond back to us. So then the school and the SAS is left with only the information that was presented. They're told to use that information, very similar to a, my mind is blanking, the other reports that come into schools. The what? Safe Voice. Very, very similar to Safe Voice. You know, they have to kind of use what they have to investigate the claim. And if they're not able to come to a conclusion or to investigate any further, that's where most of them get closed out. Because we're relying on the person that's reporting, and if we don't get any more information from them, if we need it to further investigate, that's where we get most of the responses back from the SASs and the school principals that I looked into it, or it was unfounded, or I couldn't come up with a conclusion, I wasn't able to investigate any further. Those are most of our outcomes on ethics points.
Okay, so there's no, it's just the person submitting it. There's no contact with anybody handling at this point. There's no phone call anywhere in the process.
Chris Grayhouse for the record, good question. So it was created as an anonymous system. It does not track IP addresses. The person decides if they want to leave their name or not.
Well, no, I'm sorry, but not leaving their name, but is there anybody, either the district or a third party, that I can call this 800 number and talk to them, and then they could push me where I need to submit?
So the person reporting can call in the report. The person just takes the information as if they were on the computer inputting the information themselves. But it's directly comes to us as an email, and then we determine where it needs to go for that person to investigate the accusation. So if it, for instance, claims that principal at ABC school has done all of these items, that would go to that region superintendent typically sends it to the school associate superintendent that is over that principal.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, Member Thornberry, I think for the fellow committee members to answer that, if the last briefing we had, we were using Ethics Point as the case management system reporting tool for the CCSD, and it is technically, or at least in my past, that vendor has it to answer the fellow committee members' question, where you can have the drop-down categories. So I think in the interest of time, I could go into that further, but you know, that may be something we look at. And again, echoing committee members Binder's comments, a lot more detail, I think, would have answered a lot of the questions. That's prolonging the discussion here today.
Thank you, everyone, for really good discussion. Oh, Ms. Binder, you want to go around again? Okay.
Well, thank you. Yes, there's a lot here. Thank you, Member Binder. And so I just have a kind of similar question about under the embezzlement category. And so because what I'm hearing is there was a kind of like the other one, I don't know if you would call it your own priority audit or however you guys started looking into that. Is there going to be a findings report issued to the school where they have time to reply to that? And where is that going to be reported in a future report? I guess as we're talking about, you know, how we see these, like, because I'm always going to look to the future. And then so when I see that appropriate report and say there's 5 findings, I'm going to know that one of those was that one when it's completed. Kind of like, you know, kind of like the question about the athletic stuff.
Brian Fry for the record. So regarding the allegation of embezzlement, ultimately, that whole allegation was determined to be unfounded, and so a special request audit was not generated at that time because there was no underlying priority to do so. And when we are in contact with EMR and we receive complaints and allegations like that, we're making several considerations. So one of them is, where is that school at in the audit schedule? And so for elementary schools, we try to go out every 3 years. For secondary schools, it's every 1.5 years, 2 years. So in this particular instance, if I'm recalling correctly, that school had recently been audited. And so it was not, we didn't feel it was prudent or necessary at that time to go back out there since we've already done that.
Thank you, Mr. Frey. I did understand that. I guess, let me rephrase my question. What I'm asking is had that one been one that you did, if you were going, what would that process look like? Say it wasn't just unfounded. That's what I'm asking. Does that wind up becoming like the memorandums that I've seen on like other school audits where if there is a finding, the school gets an opportunity to respond? I guess that's the process I'm asking. And then had it been one, as we're getting these reports, because if it went that way, then I would expect to see it on the next quarterly or, appropriate school audit report finding is where I would think I would look for it. And I guess I'm asking that question because, as you guys know, I like looking at the school audits. And so when you hear or sometimes see things that pop up like this, I'm just trying to keep that grounded in my mind that I am going to see that reflected in a finding in a future report, or if now I just realize that there's other types of reports out there that I've never seen.
Brian Fry for the record. Hopefully to answer your question. So every school audit, or every audit, the appropriate management is given the opportunity to respond to every finding. And so the only finding that makes it to a report is one that is substantiated and backed by fact and our own independent evaluation. And so absolutely they have a chance to respond and do their own investigation and provide their own rebuttals, if you will. Obviously we would hope to have that cleared up before we ever issue a report. We never want a situation in which we are saying one thing and the school is saying another. So in regards to your question, if if a particular instance of embezzlement or fraud was actually indicated in a report, that is one that you would absolutely receive. But generally for reports that are clean, normal, priority, or at risk, that it really becomes the discretion of the director to determine what gets forwarded to the audit committee. And again, the circumstances that would lead to that would be very serious issues, including fraud would be one potential area.
Thank you, Mr. Frey. Okay, this was really good conversation for me, so thank you. So since this is not an action item, I will be moving on, and I really appreciate everybody's discussion. So we are moving on to now 2.05, Eid Bailey Audit Planning Communication, information on Eid Bailey responsibility and plan scope for the annual financial audit. Take it away, Mr. Dayhoff.
Thank you, Madam Trustee, members, Chair, Superintendent Ebert. This item is Eid Bailey's annual planning communication for the district's fiscal year 2026 audit. As just a reminder for everybody, fiscal year 2026 is the fiscal year from July 1st, 2025, ending June 30th of 2026. Each year, our external auditors provide this letter at the beginning of the audit process to formally outline their responsibilities, the plan, scope, and timing of their work, and the areas they have preliminarily identified as presenting significant audit risk. This includes both the audit of CCSD's financial statements and our federal single audit. For fiscal year 2026, Eid Bailey has identified several areas for particular attention. Those include management override of controls, revenue recognition, particularly around per pupil funding, restricted revenues and grants, capital assets and construction in progress, given the volume of projects underway across the district, and significant accounting estimates related to PERS, which is the state pension system, OPEB, which is deferred liability, compensated absences, and our self-insurance liabilities. The auditors will also use certain work performed by our internal audit department related to student activity funds. The audit is expected to begin this September. In fact, our auditors are on the ground now, with issuance of the final report anticipated in October. I would also note for the committee that this is the final year under our current external audit engagement before the district is due to conduct a new competitive RFP process. So as we continue this year's audit cycle, staff will also be preparing for that procurement and selection process for the next engagement period. There's no finding or corrective action being presented through this letter today. This is just the annual communication that establishes the audit plan and gives the committee visibility into where our external auditors will focus their work as they begin the year-end audit. I would also note that as was new last year, seems to be reoccurring again, the current federal compliance statement for the federal single audit still has yet to be issued. So only the draft guidance is out there. So that means that just like last year where we brought the federal single audit to you all at a later date instead of with the initial external audit, I fully anticipate, given the time and where we're at with the time of year, that we'll see that again this year. So that would put us in a timeline to have the primary external audit to this body in October, November, and then to have separately and apart from that, the federal single audit brought to you I believe that was February of last year when we all met at that. So I would expect that same timing and cadence for this coming year. And with that, I pass the microphone back.
Okay, thank you. I will open it up to my colleagues. This is a non-action item, but I want to make sure you guys are able to ask any questions if you'd like. Anybody? Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Milo.
Member Maiello, has any of the significant risks changed from last year?
Justin Dayhoff, Chief Financial Officer for the record. Yes, we've added construction in progress as it relates to the finding that we had in last year's audit. There was only one finding last year and no NRS violations. And so the one finding that we do have is back up for sampling this year. And that was the finding as it relates to construction in progress.
Okay, thank you. And does the student activity funds, is it that internal audit does, is that just, are you giving the external firm all the audit reports that you completed for the year?
Justin Dayhoff, for the record, and I can defer to Director Fry as well, but that is a sampling approach, just as it is with the rest of the audit.
Oh, that's the sampling of the sampling.
Brian Fry, for the record,
Yes.
correct. A
Yes.
sample was requested from internal audit, and we provided those reports to the external auditor.
Okay, and I just have one other question. Will there be an IT review this year or related to, like, say, security or anything, or is that like every other year?
I would have to go and confirm the full scope. I don't believe there's a separate IT audit. It's what is incorporated and sampled in the external audit portfolio as identified in the engagement letter here.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maiello. Anyone else would like to go here? Okay, Ms. Binder?
Thank you, Mr. Dayoff and Mr. Frey. My only concern as we head into our annual audit, one of our former members, so as you guys know, last year, we only received a copy of the audit about 3 days before the meeting, and that caused a lot of us a lot of, I mean, we were all in the same boat, I get it, but I do have a concern because we have 2 new members, and I'm concerned that we get it in ample time so that with instructions on how to submit questions and things like that as we head into that joint meeting.
Thank you, Member Justin Dayhoff. For the record, I want to acknowledge, first of all, that that's absolutely the case. There was very little advanced preparation provided to you all and to the Board of Trustees last year. Part of the reason for that was, I think, the hope that that compliance statement would come in and that they would be able to issue the federal single audit findings at that time. Recognizing, though, lesson learned from last year, we will absolutely make sure, and again, that request through you, through the chair, to the superintendent, but that is absolutely a request that I think we can accommodate. We want to make sure that we are being transparent and open with all of that reporting.
Okay, thank you. And then for the new members, just in case, is there like a time frame, like where if they don't see it, they should email Joe, like 14 days? Because we're going to get notification of the meeting before we receive the documents, I think.
Member Binder, you're asking if you want 14 days to have the documentation?
Typically, we do have it actually a little further in advance of that. What I'm asking Mr. Dayoff for is like a trigger date, that if, for new members, if you don't see documents by a certain day, when to start reaching out or something?
Well, staff can take it under advisement, but I don't think we can direct staff in that way.
It was just a question on like a reminder date, is all it was.
Trying to understand. So you're trying to place a deadline. Okay.
Okay, Member Binder, let me rephrase that. So I was just asking, like, if there was a trigger date, if a member didn't see something, when they should reach out to Joe. So my understanding is we did have a member leave. He had a lot of frustration over the shortness in time and the professional expectation he felt to review those reports. He expressed a lot of great frustration at the meeting following that. And so I was just asking staff if, for new members, if there was like, if we were coming up, because we're going to get notification of a meeting well before documents, that if there was just like a trigger date, like, hey, if you see the meeting and you don't see anything else, reach out to Joe. That was all.
I see. So now I'm your person. So you can now reach out to me. And if we have not received the documentation, I can advocate and we can move that along. But yeah, that is now me.
But a date, like a.
I will not be placing a date on staff. Staff has the required date to post the meeting deadlines, but outside of that, I'm not gonna put anything on staff, so, okay. And anyone else have any questions? All right, is Ms. Hammer still on? If Ms. Hammer has any
This is
questions?
Member Hammer, yes, I'm still on.
Do you have any questions?
Not on this item, no.
Thank you. Okay, and then I've had a lot of lessons on eBailey and the workings and responsibilities of that scope, so I feel very prepared for that. So I don't have any questions on this item, so we're going to move on. This is not an action item. And before I open 2.06, is there anyone that did not fill out a speaker card? Okay, no? All right, so we are moving on to 2.06, review the risk assessment of Clark County School District 2026 to 24 fiscal year. Presentation, discussion, possible action regarding the Clark County School District Internal Audit Department Assessment for Risk of the fiscal year. And I will open it up back to Mr. Frey.
All right, members of the committee, Trustee Dominguez, Superintendent Evert, Brian Fry for the record. So before I begin, I just want to congratulate the new members, congratulate the new chairperson. And if it was okay, I did want to just very briefly introduce myself to the committee and then also explain very briefly the role that internal audit serves within the school district. So just a little bit about me. I've been an internal auditor for 15 years. I'm a certified internal auditor through the Institute of Internal Auditors. I've been with CCSD internal audit for 12 years now, and so that gives me a pretty good amount of experience within the department. I'm pretty familiar with our work and what we do. And so I assumed this role in April of this year. So it has been a very short amount of time. I'm still learning some of the ins and outs, but I feel confident in what will be presented today. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the prior director. She served with great excellence for many years, and I owe her a great deal. In fact, I actually started my internal audit career as an intern within the CCSD internal audit department. Steve was actually in my interview during that time, and so I just wanted to, express my gratitude for her and everything she's done. So switching gears as far as the internal audit department goes, at a high level, we are what's called an independent assurance provider, and in plain English, what that means is that we provide decision makers, whether that be management or stakeholders, with independent, fact-based, relevant, actionable information that is going to improve operations and improve the organization. And so we do that through audits, and when we refer to audits, that can be a number of potential engagements, whether that's financial audits, compliance audits, fraud audits, things of that nature. But essentially what it boils down to is we are independently assessing risk and independently assessing the controls that management has designed and implemented. And so the independence piece is probably the most important feature of internal audit. And what it does is it draws sort of a line in the sand in the sense that management is responsible for all operations. They're responsible for all risk. And really the sole responsibility of internal audit is to independently assess risk and independently evaluate the controls that management has, again, designed and implemented to control risk. That is a very high-level, abbreviated definition. There is a lot more that goes on than what we do, but that is sort of it in a nutshell. So as far as the risk assessment goes, we can go ahead and jump into that. So what you're looking at is basically how we identify potential areas of risk. We evaluate relative risk, and then we use those results to develop an audit plan in terms of what engagements we will be performing and when we do those. So the spreadsheet in front of you, it lists the universe of potential audit areas. And so that could be departments, it could be functions, it could be processes. And how we evaluate that risk is according to these 5 categories of financial exposure, internal controls, improvement opportunities, management interest, and changes in operations. We then weight those results and then rank them according to low, medium, or high. Now you might be asking yourself, where do these scores come from? It's a good question. And so that information is obtained from a variety of sources. The primary source is going to be from management surveys and feedback, from meetings and discussion with management. It's from prior year risk assessments. It's from prior assurance work from both internal and external sources, and changes in district operations and emerging risks, and really any other relevant source of information. But the important distinction, again, is that, ultimately, these scores are really about how management sees the risk landscape, and then it's synthesized through the lens of how internal audit sees those risks. So I do want to make that clear. As far as the results of the risk assessment, we haven't had any major changes since the prior year. These largely sort of maintain a similar cadence. And so this is pretty consistent historically. But some things do move up and down, and we will denote those with tick marks next to those rankings. And so a question that very often comes up is, well, we see a lot of highs on this risk ranking. The committee has made that concern known a couple of times. I want to be very clear that a high ranking does not mean that something is necessarily wrong, or that we as internal audit feel there is, of inherent fraud risk or anything untoward happening. All we are denoting is that we think that this area has a potential and really warrants an audit, essentially. It requires more review. And one of the issues we run into a lot is that we just haven't had the capacity in prior years to be able to go out to these places and formally assess risk. And so essentially what happens is these high rankings sort of just stay on, and then more high rankings sort of add on to that list. And so I am very diligently working to create strategies to address that. And the prior director did a great job by creating 2 Coordinator 1 positions to sort of give us some leeway to get to more of these areas. So with that, I will open it up for questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fry. I see your hand raised. Mr. Hoffman, go ahead.
Yeah, Member Hoffman, thank you very much, Director Fry. So in regards to capacity, what does capacity, specifically looking at the Technology and Information Systems Services Department, look like? Because as you stated, these are high risk, and we want to make sure we do everything we can to mitigate those risks. What does that look like on your side as we prep to come into fiscal year 27?
Brian Fry for the record. Thank you for the question. So as you will see, technology is ranked high. And, with technology in particular, I've thought about this in great detail in the sense that, technology is always going to have this outsized influence on risk in terms of operations, in terms of, financial exposure. And so really, no matter what happens, technology is always going to be a high risk. Now, in terms of evaluating that risk, we have previously performed a technology inventory audit. That was the last one that we've performed. And as you'll see in a later agenda item, we have another IT-related audit that we'll be performing. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Member Thornberry, so in taking a look at years past when we reviewed this, cybersecurity, the IT department has always been a top focus and top area of mine. So I'm glad to see the additional audits in that area in addressing that. Correct me if I'm wrong, the internal audit department still does not have an IT auditor at the moment.
Brian Fry for the record. That is correct. We do not currently have a dedicated IT auditor or a CISA on hand. However, I can assure you that one of the things I'm really going to be looking forward to doing is developing talent internally. And so technology is absolutely a priority of mine that I desperately want to work towards, not just IT audit related, but other technology sort of supports for internal audit generally, like, like the implementation of AI and things of that nature.
That's great to hear. And then just looking at one of the other categories that always stands out to me in our police services. So looking at things that could cause harm to our district, reputational harm, not only the financial harm to the district, and in protecting the students, teachers, and that. Within police services, are there any audits planned this year? And have we looked into police services from a variety of whether it's financial performance auditing, and is that potentially on the horizon?
Brian Fry for the record. So any of these categories is potentially available for audit. I will say that we do not have one of police services currently planned, but my understanding is that they do have external assurance and audit provided, I believe through federal state, but we have not had a chance or opportunity to evaluate them yet. Historically, we've always rated them lower than medium. I will note that I did raise the rating, or I did raise the numerical value on that, and so we are one beneath high.
I did notice that. Any reason for that? And I would say that I did notice it lower in years past. Any reason that it was escalated this year?
Brian Fry for the record. So one of the categories is changes of operation, and we did just hire the new chief.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'm looking to my left, I'm looking to my right. Ms. Hammer?
Yes, Member Hammer, for the record, I do have a question for Director Fry. Director Fry, you mentioned that there are several categories on the risk assessment that have an overall ranking of high, and that they've historically been high year over year. And obviously, your group is a smaller size and you can only address a certain amount of risks every year. How do you determine which audit areas your team prioritizes? And secondly, have you had discussions with internal leadership on ensuring that, the residual risk that is remaining is one that everyone is comfortable with, given the limited resources that your group has?
Brian Pfeiffer, I'm sorry, I blanked. Could you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Member Hammer, for the record, yes. Can you hear me? I just want to make sure you're able to hear me first.
Yes, we can. It was, I think it was just a lot of, it was very academically said. So at least for me, I was wondering what the question was. So if you could restate the question.
When you were explaining the risk assessments, you mentioned that there are several that have overall high rankings, right, in terms of risk, and that the risk rating assigned to these areas has been largely consistent year over year. So they've been high risk in the past, and they remain high risk for the current audit period. I was asking, how does your team determine how to prioritize which audits will be performed for the given audit period? And then beyond that, have you had discussions with internal leadership on the amount of residual risk that everyone is, collectively comfortable with, since your team is obviously a limited size, limited resource group, and there's only so many audits that your team can perform in a given year? Is everyone comfortable with the areas that are not getting covered?
Brian Pfeiffer, for the record, thank you for the question. So in terms of how we prioritize these high-risk areas, so when we're doing audit planning, we're primarily looking at first we're obviously looking at what the risk assessment says, but then we're looking at what our capacity is in terms of what is auditor availability, what is the experience and ability of any particular auditor. And so, as an example, technology, as stated, we do not have a CISA. We have two CISAs on the committee. You are aware of the technical and proficiency that's required to do an audit of this size and complexity. And so we're making, as the director, we are making that kind of considerations when picking and choosing. But another thing is just, we want to make sure that we have coverage over the district, that we're not just looking at the same places over and over again, which, I mean, we haven't been able to really get out to a lot of these places, but that is one consideration we make. In terms of discussion of risk with management, in that particular example, what you specifically brought up, we have not had those discussions, but we are regularly in contact with management discussing risk generally. And then in performing the risk assessment, we're surveying management broadly, broadly across the district. We're having discussions one-on-one with management and leadership. And so I hope that answers your question.
Member Hammer, for the record, thank you for that explanation. I do have one follow-up question on that. For areas of very high risk, and I think the prior questions that came kind of highlighted this, so IT, cyber, those types of audits, is there an openness or willingness to bring on external service providers to augment your staff so that these audits can be performed sooner than your team would be able to perform them, either from a capacity perspective or simply just bringing on the staff that have the knowledge and expertise to execute the audits?
Brian Fry, for the record, I think that's a great recommendation, and one that I have been thinking about bringing to the attention of my direct report. But something like that would obviously require budget approval, as it's an increased expense.
Noted. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. This is a really good conversation. Okay, thank you, Mr. Maiello.
Member Maiello. Congratulations, Brian. You've grown up a lot since the last time I saw you. No, I'm teasing. I just had a couple of questions on the audit plan. Why? Oh,
That's the next.
that was the next one? Okay, I'm sorry.
We're on the risk assessment.
Okay, I'll mention the two of them. Okay. The emerging risks that you mentioned and the different surveys, has that changed much in the past year?
Brian Fry, for the record, no, the process has not changed. In a lot of ways, I kind of just picked up where the former director left off, because it was such an abbreviated amount of time between her retirement and me taking over and then preparing this information. I did not believe it was prudent to materially deviate from the process that our department has established.
Okay. And in regards to technology, I noticed the technology inventory audit, well, the one that you're going to be doing, it seems like it's a lower ranking than the rest of the the different processes. Is there a reason why you're choosing that, or do I need to say that in the next piece?
You can ask the question. It's within the scope of this agenda item.
Okay.
I think you need to rephrase it.
I need to phrase it. Why is IT operations and user support services the lowest risk?
Brian Fry, for the record, I do want to be, one of the things when looking at this, I would caution from trying to pick and choose and isolate these numbers and try to come up with a, why is this number versus this number? Ultimately, like I stated in the preface, is that this is a lot of this is how management views the landscape of risk, and then as auditors, we are, not putting our own spin on it, but sort of resynthesizing that information. I don't particularly see, so are you referring the 48 versus the 50?
48 versus the 50 and then a 55. Because the 55 seems, I think that's the highest one.
Yes, so again, I would caution trying to pick and choose. Ultimately, this is not about, I know it is a numerical format, and so there is this tendency to think about it as there's this like incredible precision, but ultimately it is a methodology that is a way to move us toward a certain rank and rating, but to try and tease out, again, trying to tease out a couple points. At the end of the day, these are all high risk areas.
Okay, thank you. And in regards to police services, they've had a change in management, but also there's, in regards to that, they have their overtime and their hours. And I mean, if they're putting in a lot of overtime hours, that could jeopardize, in some cases, the safety of the district as a whole, because they're exhausted. So I mean, that's something, I don't know if that would increase the risk or not, but years ago, I actually had done an overtime audit and found that officers were working 16 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week. And that to me was just, it's dangerous because they carry a gun.
Brian Fry, for the record, thank you for the input. I will definitely consider that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I just had one other,
okay.
I guess, comment. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Just in regards to IT expertise, although
Mr. Milo,
Yes.
if I may, I'm sorry, we need to stay within the
Okay.
scope of this
Okay.
item
Oh,
of
because
2.06.
he had mentioned, okay, so I'll do
Yeah.
that next one then.
Right, we're only on risk assessment and categories.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we need to stay
Okay,
within
I
the
just
scope of
wrote this-
2.06.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
No worries, thank you. All right. Oh, I turned myself off. All right, so this is for possible action, and we do not have any speaker cards. I did not see any, so that's a no. Okay, so we will be moving on to a motion.
Member Thornberry, I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you,
Member Matu, I second.
thank you. And with that, we'll have a vote. Go ahead, we'll start that way.
Member Matu.
Aye.
Sorry, aye.
Member Thornberry, aye.
Member Binder, aye.
Member Maiello, aye.
Thank you,
Member
members.
Hammer, aye.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Hammer. Okay, moving on. All right, so we are on 2.07, review of the 2026-2027 audit plan of the Clark County School District Internal Audit Department. Mr. Fry, and thank you so much for your story and hearing how full circle it went. So we really appreciate hearing that, so thank you.
Thank you. Members of the committee, Trustee Dominguez, Superintendent Ebert. So what you have in front of you is two different documents. You have the audit plan and then the rolling audit plan. And so what we went over previously was the risk assessment, and that informs the audit plan. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward, and it just outlines how we're planning to allocate our resources by hours for the fiscal year, and what those engagements are associated with. So these hours are pretty consistent with prior years. Again, a lot of the audits we do differ, but the work kind of just is very consistent. So under construction, this captures the work performed by my two bond-funded auditors who are responsible for all bond-funded work in the district, which largely encompasses construction and the capital improvement plan. So you can see regarding the audit plan, that's basically audits. We do allocate some time for special requests because we have received those in the past, and also time for follow-ups. The next area is school banks, and this is where we allocate our largest amount of budget. So we have a regulatory requirement that all schools are to be audited, and so we have a lot of schools, and so we have a lot of hours allocated to school banks. And just for the record, that does generally end up, we issue about 140 school audits a year, so I feel like we are very productive in that area. Next up is regarding department audits. So right now, we only have one department audit in progress, and that is preventative maintenance. We allocated a pretty large, substantial amount of budget to that just because it is such a massive area. And again, so many schools, so many departments. This is something that touches every physical location, essentially. Next, we have the IA internal assessment. That's something we do every year that is required by the professional practices framework issued by the IAA. And essentially what we are doing is we're looking at what the standards say, the professional standards, and we are sort of basically doing a gap analysis of this is what is required, and this is what we're doing. And so it's basically a self-audit. That will be beginning soon. The next 3 audits we have planned are bus operations and/or white fleet, employee timekeeping and leave management, and another TIS audit, user support and work order process. Next up, we have follow-ups. So this would be follow-ups to department audits. So this would really only apply to the preventative maintenance audit. If that's completed in time, then we will likely complete a follow-up by the end of the year. Next, we have reviews and training. So there's a pretty large amount over reviews, and so what that's referencing to is I have 2 senior auditors who are responsible for performing peer review, and so when an audit gets turned in, someone has to look at every single work paper, every single conclusion, and make sure that we are performing our work in accordance with the standards and just general quality standards. Training is pretty low just because we do not have any new employees at the moment, but training is something we always do. And so that, all of this will equal up to the total audit hours that we have budgeted. And so I will go to the next page, which is the rolling audit plan. And so this is, again, pretty brief, but essentially just outlines what we're currently working on again. So that would be employee timekeeping and leave management, preventative maintenance process, which is in progress, bus operations and our white fleet, the internal assessment, user support services and work order process. And then under the capital improvement program, we have project audits. So that's related to generally new construction and modernization. And so that is what I have.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to open this up for discussion. Anybody would like to go? Go ahead, Ms. Binder.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Frey. So just quick question, because you said no new employees at the moment. How are you doing on staffing? I know we had a really robust conversation about this in February too. So how are you looking for the year? And
good question. So just to give some of the new members an idea of what the department looks at, we're currently a team of 12, and so there's myself, the director. I have my 2 senior auditors. I have 9 general funded auditors, or 9 coordinator 3s. 7 of those are school general funded auditors. 2 of them are bond funded auditors. And so right now we're doing good on staffing. Just as a general note, we have seen a lot of turnover in the department over the years, almost entirely based on retirement, so that's a good thing. But I believe last I checked, like basically 5 or 6 of my employees are less than 5 years, and most of them are, like 3 years or less. So it's been a bit of a challenge. It's a lot of training that we provide, and so again, it sort of ties into, what we've noted previously is just, we have roadblocks that sort of prevent us from getting out to certain places, but I think we're in a good place right now.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hoffman, I saw you reaching.
In regards to, potential capacity, what does that initial number for you look like in the coming, let's say, 3 to 4 months? What are you looking for? And is there an exact number if you have an idea by any chance, Director Fry?
Brian Fry, for the record. I'm sorry, could you be a little more clear? Capacity in terms of what? For audits?
Increase in.
Oh, as far as, sorry, Brian Fry, for the record. As far as increases to audit capacity, I do. You would have received recently the quarterly department stats. So that would have showed you kind of the trends in terms of where our department is at. And so based off of what I've seen, I think we're still very well in line with historical trends.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Member Thornberry, a question for our audit director. For the committee's knowledge and for public, II Red Book standards are going to continue to be followed. When are you up for a peer review next for the department? And just for general public, the CCSD uses the IIA's Red Book instead of GAO's Yellow Book, utilized by a lot of public entities. If you could just explain that, and then the peer review, next peer review.
Brian Fry, for the record, that's a great question. So actually, if you look at the rolling audit plan, under internal audit, we do have the external quality assurance review scheduled for next year. We will be, that's something that is required every 5 years. If you're going to make a statement that you audit in accordance with the Institute of Internal Auditors Professional Practices Framework, which we do, then that is something that is required. Essentially, that is an external assurance, again, auditing the auditors, making sure that we are in accordance with all the requirements.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any, would you like, yes, please.
Member Maiello, the peer review, are you going to have another organization come in, or are you going to go out for bid to have someone actually charge us for it?
Brian Fry, for the record, that's a great question. I'm currently reviewing our options right now. One of the things I'm looking into is the IIA themselves actually provides that service. Otherwise, I would prefer to go with an external firm rather than self-validation with external validation.
Okay, well, it would be like the city of Las Vegas, someone come and review your guys' stuff, and then you go do theirs. So there'd be no cost to the district.
Brian Fry, for the record, thank you for the input. It's something I will consider. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
And then from a project management standpoint, are the auditors working on multiple projects? I remember, you might have a department audit, but you can do an investigation, you can go do a school bank at the same time. It's been a while, but I recall working on multiple projects at the same time to utilize my time more efficiently.
Brian Fry, for the record, thank you for the question. Yes, auditors do work on multiple projects. Even if they are performing an operational audit in which there is a significant amount of hours dedicated to it, it's expected that they still continue with other projects just because audits do have downtime. You are going to be waiting for documents sometimes. Sometimes you just need to look at something else, to be honest. And so auditors are encouraged and required to perform multiple projects.
Does some of your coordinator, what the senior auditors coordinator for, correct?
Brian Fry, for the record, correct.
Okay. Do they do other audits in regards, more complex audits than the coordinator threes and the coordinator ones?
Brian Fry, for the record, typically, yes, the senior auditors are spending a lot of their time doing the reviews, as I mentioned, but they are also available for special requests, fraud audits, or other engagements that I think it's prudent for someone of that, capacity and experience. But we are fortunate to have other coordinator threes who are internal auditors who are available to pick up some of those as well.
Okay. The reason I ask is, I mean, some of the departmental audits are much more complex than a school bank, a gate receipt, and need a little more, the complexity needs someone with more senior experience. So I would think they would be working on.
Mr. Milo, I'm
what?
sorry. We're not going to be discussing like the internal positioning of the.
Oh, okay. Just from a
department.
project management standpoint and the expertise
Yeah.
of the staff.
Within the scope of item 2.07, we are just reviewing their plan. And so that is the scope that we're on right now.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm looking more at the utilization of hours.
For their hours. And
Yeah,
we-
if I'm doing more, I don't know how to say it.
if you can make me understand within this scope.
Okay, from, at different levels, you have different expertise. So you would want some of your senior staff to do more of the more complex reviews.
Yes.
You do have fraud that happens, but there's other things that you could be doing in regards to getting coverage.
That is not within the scope of 2.07 though.
Okay, that's fine.
But I hear what you're saying, but we have to change our brains, our mindset to how
Okay.
it fits in the scope of 2.07.
Okay, because there's different, I guess the thing is, there's different utilization of expertise. Yes, I'm doing a departmental audit, but I'm also looking at it from an IT perspective, too, how I could save the district.
I hear where you're going.
Okay, so that's not.
But what I'm trying to have you refocus into 2.07. Into, we're kind of like categorized. And so right now we're on 2.07, which is the review of the audit plan. And that is not within the scope of the department's internal workings.
Okay, because the other thing is the school banks, they spend almost half their time working on that. The school budgets, their expenditures are about 70 million a year. So if I'm not doing all the audits, I'm not looking at $70 million worth of activity. If I'm only doing a third of it, I'm looking at 23 million. The district is an $8 or $9 billion entity. There's other areas that I probably should be focusing on to provide the public with the understanding that we have more broad coverage.
I see, and so I do hear that part. That part
that-
is within the scope. And if I can remember a quote from Mr. Dayhoff, he had, I think he's the one that said this. It might have been you. He said, CCSD is kind of like an ocean, right? It's
Right.
like you've described, billions of dollars. And so we can't review the entire floor of the ocean, but
Right.
we can take certain points. And if things are highlighted, then that's the overall plan. If I could, is that correct, Mr. Fry? Is that a good analysis?
Brian Fry, for the record, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. That's, I mean, we have limited resources. We need to provide assurance to the public that we have adequate coverage. Okay, that's fine.
Thank you. And
All right, thank
the
you.
staff will take that under advisement. Go ahead, Mr.
Yeah, I'd like to call a motion.
I still have questions.
Oh, so sorry.
Okay, Ms. Binder.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Frey and Mr. Dayoff. So at our last meeting, we kind of went over how much time in addition here that the department spends on GASB. And so in addition to these hours, I don't know if you or Mr. Dayoff want to, for our new members, just kind of highlight, the additional hours that the department has to allocate for GASB compliance. And then also, do we have any unforeseen, or I can't say unforeseen, anything that might be upcoming, changing, coming into like 27, fiscal year 27, 28, in GASB that might also alter these numbers before the next time we see this?
Member Binder, thank you for the question. Justin Dayoff, for the record. Yes, I'll answer that in a little bit of a reverse order. So currently, for the year upcoming, our team has been fast at work being on the forefront of GASB Statements 103, 105. We're actually one of the earliest to implement those. We would consider us an early implementer. So much so that the team is now actually providing professional development for the Government Finance Officers Association as other entities go to deploy those. So full credit to our accounting team who do tremendous work on that. I think the biggest elephant coming up in the room will be the new financial data transparency federal legislation that will have to be implemented. We're taking a look at that right now to try and be proactive as well. I expect that will be thousands of hours of staff time. Fortunately, I think we also are, from a systems perspective, going to be undertaking an enterprise resource planning system modernization effort. And so our plan right now is to work with our external auditors in conjunction with that project, so to try and maximize some efficiency and resource use, to use the ERP implementation as well as that external support to get us ahead of the game with the financial data transparency effort. But that work will be thousands of staff hours to do.
Okay, thank you for that. And then just,
Member Binder,
oh, sorry.
State your name.
Oh, sorry, Member Binder, for the record, thank you, Mr. Dayoff, for that. And then just one more follow-up, because I know we've talked about that risk and insurance services category over the last year and a half. And so the last time it came up was when you guys told us that we were going to hire a third-party administrator to help with that. And then I do see here that it's on for 2008, 2009. And I guess maybe just to the best of your ability, how far on track do you think that we're going to be doing that in fiscal year 28, 29?
Excuse me, Brian Fry, for the record, could you restate that? You said 2028, 2029?
Correct. So on 2.07B, the risk management third-party admin review is slated under the 2008, 2009 fiscal year. And so my question is, because we have been talking about that for a couple fiscal years now, so I'm just asking, to the best of your ability, how accurate we are for that time projection.
Brian Fry, for the record. So the rolling audit plan is really more of a placeholder of potential audits. So, it's not an exact schedule. As more information comes in and as we perform the risk assessment and more information comes in, this absolutely changes. And so that is absolutely something I will take into consideration. Thank you.
And Justin Dayoff, for the record, just to add to that, worth noting, we did make that transition to third-party administration for workman's comp. And while this is on the roadmap, as Director Fry just mentioned, know please that we are doing our earnest effort to hold them to account to all of their service level agreements and everything that is an expectation in the time between now and then.
Okay.
Member Thurmby, I'll make a motion to approve the item 2.07.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Member Madzu, I second.
Thank you. And we'll go with a vote down this way.
Member Madzu, aye.
Member Thornberry, aye.
Member Binder, aye.
Member Hammer, I did have a question on the materials before we vote, please.
My apologies, Ms. Hammer. I keep forgetting you were out there. Please.
Just one item, circling back to IA's external quality assessment, because that was a discussion point that came up earlier on this item. I did want to point out that for the EQA, the Institute of Internal Auditors does have specific standards that the external reviewing party must meet. And one of them, there's many, but one of them is that the reviewing team has to have at least one person that's a certified internal auditor. The point was, I know we had discussed, are there other ways to perform the external quality assessment that are more cost conscientious than bringing in an external party? But I did want to point out that the IIA does have specific standards that need to be met, which will likely require an external party to come in and perform the review.
Ms. Hammer, can you, I was listening very intently. Did you have a question? Or was that
I was pointing that out for Director Fry's information because he had noted that he was going to consider if a different external party or an internal party but independent of the department could potentially perform the review. I wanted to point out that the IIA has specific standards for who could perform the EQA, and I just want to make sure we're all aligned on, the standards need to be met when determining the external review party.
Thank you. Did you have a comment? Or?
Brian Fry for the record. I don't, other than thank you for the clarification. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, and we will start again with our votes.
Before the voting, public comment.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much for that friendly reminder. So I'm going to open up if anybody submitted a public speaker card. Seeing none. Okay. And no public speakers, so we are going to move on. And just when I thought we had this in order, we took it out of order. So go ahead, Mr. Hoffman.
Member Madzu, aye.
Member Thornberry, aye.
Member Binder, aye.
Thank you. Ms. Hammer?
Member Hammer, aye.
Thank you. Okay, we are moving along. So we are on to 2.08, update on the Clark County School District Internal Audit Department. And this is for possible action, so we will pass it back to Mr. Fry. Thank you.
Brian Fry for the record. So this document it outlines what we're currently working on as a department. I know it looks a little sparse at the moment, but you have to understand that we just rolled into a new fiscal year, and so this doesn't capture all of last year of all the productivity that we performed. So we first start with just the bond fund construction audits. Currently, we have one audit in progress, and that is currently in the reporting and finalization phase. In the last month, we have not issued any construction reports or follow-ups or special requests in consulting projects. Under the general fund, those are always ongoing. We have, I did not do a count, but dozens of school audits are ongoing at this moment. We've issued 7 reports for last month. For department audits, maintenance, preventative maintenance is currently in the test work phase and is moving along swiftly. As noted, the internal assessment will be performed shortly. And then for bus operations, user support and work order process, employee timekeeping and leave management, those audits will be happening later in the year. Specifically for bus operations and our white fleet and the user support and work order process, those were audits that were actually intended to be performed or started last year, but as we've kind of discussed earlier, we had 3 retirements, and so those kind of got derailed and have been pushed to this year. We have not issued any department audits at this time. We have one follow-up department audit in process. That's the inventory audit for technological devices. Under other, reviews are always ongoing. Again, as any audit gets turned in, it is reviewed, both by a senior auditor and myself, and then minimal training, and then there are currently 2 special request audits in progress, and those are school bank audits. And that is open for discussion now.
Okay, thank you. We're going to open it up for discussion. Ms. Binder?
Thank you, Member Binder, for the record. So when I received one of our quarterly reports about school audits, I had requested the actual school audits, and the quarter report findings that were reported to us were completely inaccurate based upon the actual reports. And so I really am trying to only request those on an annual basis, but I get 4 quarter reports a year. And so I'm right at the time that I would request the next fiscal year of those to compare against the reports that we get. And I'm extremely scratching my head and frustrated why what's being reported to us is not accurately reflecting the actual findings of the audits.
Brian Fry, for the record, if you could clarify, I guess if I could get a little more information in terms of, I'm drawing a blank in terms of receiving a request, to be honest. Are you describing the quarterly statistics?
Correct. So we get the quarterly statistics, and I compare those against the actual reports. And so when I go back a fiscal year to get, because I'm not going to sit there every quarter and put a PRR in for the actual reports, so I try to do it every year. And so when I go back and compare those quarter reports to the fiscal year, what this committee is receiving is not accurately reflecting the actual findings in the reports.
Brian Fry, for the record. So maybe Joe can help me out here, but the last quarterly stats that we sent out was just for the third quarter, and so the fourth quarter stats have not been issued yet, so that might account for some of the discrepancies. But that is, I would like to get more information and be able to assist you with that.
Okay. Do we have anyone else that would like to? Oh, go ahead, Mr. Maiello.
Member Maiello, Mr. Fryer, I just was wondering, with the maintenance audit, you budgeted 1,000 hours. Do you know how much you've spent, worked on it to date? And if so, is it close? Right now, it seems like it's right in the middle of the process.
Brian Fry, for the record, I do not have a specific hour amount that we're currently at, but my understanding is that we are actually kind of in the middle, yes. So there's still much more work to be done, but we've completed a couple of sections.
Okay, so from I guess from a budget standpoint, then you're probably not going to spend more than 1,000 hours on that project, or right now you don't know yet. Can I ask that?
Member Binder, for the record, not really, but what I think might be helpful in his understanding is, one, that we see, we get a copy of the audits when they're completed, and I'm not sure because Mr. Dayoff just came on board last year, but because we do have a previous year construction finding, like and you were here for that, right, Director Fry? So I don't know, I think that might be applicable to what he's trying to ask of this audit and why the hours.
I'll step in. So for the, I know you keep trying to go towards the hours, that is more towards a personnel portion of the district, and that is not within the scope of 2.8. So if you want to redirect your question?
I'm fine.
Okay. Got it.
Yep, Member Thurman.
Oh, are you going to do a motion?
Yeah, I was
We're
going to call a
we're-
motion on
we're gonna-
2.09.
We're gonna go into public speaker
Oh,
card.
sorry.
If anybody, you're not gonna throw me off this time. So so we don't have any public speakers. And I missed Ms. Hammer, so I'm gonna go back to Ms. Hammer. Did you have anything?
Member Hammer, for the record, I do not.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we don't have a public speaker card, and you may make your motion.
Member Thurnberry, I'll make a motion to approve item 2.09.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Member Manzu, I second.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a vote on the floor. We'll start at Mr. Hoffman.
Member Manzu, aye.
Member Thurnberry, aye.
Member Binder, I'm going to abstain.
Member Maiello.
Member Hammer, aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Member Maiello, aye.
Okay, all right, so thank you. Members, we'll move it along. Okay, so now I will be opening up 2.09, which is the Audit Advisory Committee bylaws and calendar. And so this will be my portion. And thank you, Mr. Fry, and thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. Okay, so we will be going over the authority and responsibilities of this committee. The committee is a recommending body to the board, administration, and auditors. The committee has no policy-making authority and has no administrative authority. Any recommendations it makes shall not substitute for any required review and acceptance by the board. The annual audit report prepared by the independent auditors shall not be deemed final until accepted by the resolution of the board. And I want to implore that the portion of no administrative authority, that includes asking staff for coffee, that includes asking staff for any type of things that are outside of the scope of the Audit Advisory Committee. And with that, I want to implore to be conducting in a professional manner. Any misconduct issues will be referred directly to the superintendent and also to the board president and then to me, your liaison. The parameters of the committee's responsibility are defined by the Audit Advisory Committee responsibility calendar. It is not the responsibility or duty of the committee to plan or conduct any audits or to determine financial statements are complete, accurate, and in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, to assure compliance with the laws, regulations, and policies. And I have a lot of empathy for our new committee members because I remember being a new committee member and it is a learning curve. Okay, moving forward, I am on reference C. So the Audit Advisory Committee shall assist the board in strengthening accountability for the stewardship and efficient and effective use of district funds, promoting transparency to the public of the district's financial and business operations, promoting adequate system of internal controls, strengthening accountability for the stewardship and effective use of public funds, providing a communication link between external and internal audit and the board, enhancing transparency of the district's financial operations, and this is probably the most important, is improving public trust in honesty and integrity of its public officials. And so, you know, we'll go back. I have a lot of paper. So with that, so we have a joint meeting with my fellow colleagues in November. So we have to set so we got to work backwards. So we're going to set a meeting in October, and then we will set kind of a time frame to get any input, because one of the biggest things that I would like to see from my fellow committee members here is feedback from the bylaws. So I know the board has been going over a lot of review of our own governance policies, and we would love to hear your feedback on our bylaws and policies that are here with the Audit Advisory Committee. And so we're going to work our way backwards. So from November, we're going to set a date for the meeting in October, and then from there, we'll kind of work backwards into when we'll put a deadline on ourselves, so when we should get that feedback to staff, and how we will work those things. So if everybody wants to pull up their calendar, like me, I have 2 calendars. So I am looking at October.
Madam Chairperson, may I?
Yes, Mr. Caruso.
Okay. Madam Chairperson, members of the committee, Superintendent Ebert, Joe Caruso for the record. Appreciate the offer to calendar. I can tell you from my chair, that's a task of all tasks to try to get 5 people's, now 6 calendars to work. So if it's the pleasure of the committee, I'd be happy to maybe take that offline, reach out to the members, get some dates, and then follow up once we have a date that works for everybody in their schedules.
Okay. With other committees, we kind of set a date, but I'm gonna open it up to everybody. It's a new committee. Do you guys want to send an email to Mr. Caruso about your availability, or we can set a date now?
This member Madzio, I'd like to send that to Dr. Caruso, if possible.
Need more time to review.
Okay. You guys are also in review mode? Would you like to review your calendar, submit it later to Mr. Caruso on what your availability is for October? Okay. That's okay. And Ms. Binder?
It's fine.
Okay. And then, so from that date that we set, that we collectively set, so I'll just put it out there. We can set it for mid to late October, preferably the last 2 weeks of October. And then from there, we'll have to backtrack into the timeline for the feedback. So that is our homework, committee members, is to review the bylaws and submit suggestions that we have to back to Mr. Caruso. So I'm going to can we put down 1st of October? Is that?
And Madam Chairperson, Crystal Pugh here for the record. So I would have the deliberation with respect to next steps and then do that all as part of one motion. So you can have the conversation with respect to whether there's any ideas at this point concerning suggested changes for the bylaws and/or wait for a pending motion on next steps.
Got it. Okay. So we'll roll it into a motion.
Member Thornberry, I had point or question and then prepared to make a motion. So when looking over the agenda items, a lot of information under all consolidated in one. My understanding is the governance policies that are adopted, those are to my opinion, self-explanatory. They're mandatory approvals directed to this committee. So I think the deliberations and debate is kind of a moot point. That's our instructions going forward. So I would be prepared to make a motion to approve those items and approve 2.09. For our bylaws and calendar, if we could take that out of, have that separate, and as the chair stated, that would be the discussion item for the October meeting, maybe tabling that section till October. Is that?
I'm going to clarify for myself.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to clarify. So you're asking to separate the Audit Advisory Committee bylaws and to move forward with the trustees' governance policy GP 15 and GP 21? And 18.
18. Yeah, that would be correct. Yep, so 15, 18, and 20 and 21.
Okay, and these are new policies. So I will implore to to the fellow committees members here is that, in some context, is we took Washoe County's templates, and we kind of utilize them as our own. So I think it might be good to open that up to other committee members to review in case there might be some tweaks we need to make.
I would concur into we may wish to table that to the October meeting, or are we prepared to have that here now?
Crystal Pugh here for the record. So just to be clear, the agenda item is with respect to the Audit Advisory Committee bylaws. So deliberation and discussion on any suggested changes that may be proposed or be scheduled for a later date for purposes of the Board of School Trustees' consideration on those bylaws. The governance policies have already been adopted by the Board of School Trustees. Those are just added for purposes of references for your consideration with regards to any suggested changes that you may want to propose for the bylaws. But just to be clear, those governance policies aren't for this committee to approve or adopt. They're simply as reference materials.
Got it. Thank you. And to suggest if there were any changes. Is that what you stated?
No, so this agenda item is not for purposes of proposing changes to the Board of School Trustees governance policies. Those have been adopted by the board, and they're attached as supporting materials as reference for any suggested changes to the bylaws.
Okay, got it. So we can look at both documents at the same time. Got it. Okay, and Ms. Binder, you have been patiently waiting.
Thank you so much, Trustee Dominguez. Okay, so Member Hammer, Member Thornberry, and myself, back right before you guys passed these policies, we were sent a copy of them in anticipation of them being passed to see if they had any input to the board, right, at the appropriate time when you were passing them. And so, and then also to be aware of them through this whole time. And so my understanding of this agenda item was to come with suggested changes and everything. And so I actually had suggested changes to put us into compliance with all of these and everything at our last meeting. We were putting it off for them, everyone to have an opportunity to get back to the school board with any other suggestions before you guys passed it, and like whatnot. So, so once again, I'm here with everything, all my suggested, blue line, red line changes to bring us not only into compliance with the new policies, but also the changes that you guys made to the existing policies, and then bring our calendar into compliance with those 4 policies. And so I believe that, because obviously now I'm the only one prepared, that we need to potentially make a motion for everyone to submit their requested changes based upon these new and updated policies, schedule a meeting to discuss those things, and then that way everyone sends them to Joe, kind of like how you guys do yours.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So I'm trying to formulate how this is going to work in my mind. So instead of a motion, because that it is technically out of the scope because it does say Audit Advisory Committee bylaws. So it doesn't include the GP, the governance policies of the trustees. But I agree that there may be some modifications that may need to be made. And so I will have a discussion with the board president and see where we can.
I'm sorry, I'll go first, and then maybe Joe might tag team with me here. So Crystal P. for the record. So just to be clear, at the last committee meeting, the governance policies had not been formally adopted and finalized by the Board of School Trustees. So there was a deliberation, but it was contingent upon ultimately the Board of School Trustees' formal adoption of those governance policies. That has since occurred, and they're attached as reference materials to 2.09. With respect to today's agenda item, there can be deliberation in accordance with the agenda item, on proposed changes to the committee's bylaws. Whether you take action on that is a separate matter, but there can be discussion on that today.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Binder.
Okay, thank you, Member Binder. So I'll clarify. So I guess what I was trying to say is, I did come prepared based upon the new and revised governance policies to make suggested changes to put us in compliance with those today. But in my lived experience and with how the board does these things, is that now that everyone today has been provided a copy of the past and new ones, is for us to potentially either go through those, compare them, have a date that we give our suggested changes to Joe, and then Joe can merge all those suggestions together, and then we bring it back for, like, you know, so we can see everyone's suggestions, have a, you know, more robust conversation, and then have a broader thing. Because, like I said, I'm the only one, I believe, prepared with even changes, and we'll be here another hour, hour and a half if I start talking about those.
I hear you, Ms. Binder. And so, go ahead, Mr. Binder.
And Member Thornberry, for the senior members on the committee, yourself, myself, and I don't want to speak for Member Hammer, I think we're prepared to discuss today, but out of fairness and for our two new members, taking that into consideration, and I think a more consolidated, here's what, having what's redlined in the current policy and proposed, and having that as an attachment for public discussion, because hearing all that today would be probably a bit much. So and I thank you for the clarification on the governance items, which makes total sense. My motion would be that I would propose is to table 2.09 to the October meeting, unless we want to have that, but discussion today.
Okay, so before we start with motion, so I'll go back to where I'm looking at Mr. Caruso. So we are looking to set a date and to also, so we can go back to discuss these bylaws. From my understanding is that we do need the feedback, staff needs the feedback, and they need to gather the feedback, but we also need to give time for ourselves and staff. So today what we're looking for is to let everybody know these are the reference materials, these are the bylaws, and to go back and review them. And if you have suggestions, to collectively send them back to Mr. Caruso. I was trying to set a date, but General Counsel stopped me. So I don't know if I can set a date for October 1st. I feel like that would be a solid date for everybody to submit feedback for our bylaw recommendations.
Madam Chairwoman, members of the committee, Superintendent Eber, Joe Caruso for the record. So I think, so if I can just back up a little bit. So in the minutes from the last meeting on page 53 of 54, the discussion was that we were going to table the item and then bring it back with the caveat that we would discuss next steps. So what we did is we worked together to make sure that the current policies that the Board of Trustees adopted in May are listed as reference material. So you have kind of a launch pad, right? So you know the direction the board's saying, this is what the Audit Advisory Committee, the thous and shalls moving forward. Then looking at your bylaws, saying, okay, for example, the board liaison position's not in the bylaws. So we know right off the bat that needs to be added in. Looking at the calendar, is the calendar still accurate? Because last time the bylaws were revised, I think was it 2000, I have it on this version. It's been a couple of years, so we want to make sure that we have an update to say, yes, this is still within the reporting structure. If there's any other changes that the board has adopted in the governance policies that we don't have included in the bylaws, we need to make sure they're aligned, okay? So that we're 100% in alignment with the expectations, and then moving forward, are there things that the committee says, well, these are things that we've noticed that maybe some suggestions or recommendations. Then taking that feedback, consolidating it, putting it in one document. So we have maybe the current document in black, revisions or suggested revisions in blue, giving staff time, superintendent time, legal time CFO, internal audit. So then we come back in a public meeting as a follow-up to say, okay, here's what the suggestions are, and then having that discussion, similar to how the board did the governance policies. And then that way there, we're in line with the current governance policies in the review process. We're following with the calendar, because there is part of the bylaws, the calendar part of reviewing the bylaws and making sure that we're compliant. But then also realizing that your next meeting is November, which is a joint meeting with the regular board. So to try to do a meeting in October is probably a good idea. So the committee has a separate meeting and then having that time. So if it's a pleasure of the committee, I'm more than happy to reach out to the committee members, find a date for a meeting in October. And then if the intent is to, and the hard part is not knowing, because if you're, say, pick October 10th, if you want to have time to review it, there's posting deadlines and when we post the agenda. So we'll have to backwards map that out and then have a date, maybe the end of September, to turn in the work. So I don't know if that kind of answered the question.
That does clarify and bring back a lot of historical information, so thank you. Okay, so are we kind of clear on, is everybody, Ms. Binder?
Yeah, Member Binder, for the record, I just want this committee to know that the last time that our bylaws and our calendar were reviewed, there were only 2 changes made. One was our meeting cadence was reduced from 4 meetings plus the joint meeting a year down to 3 plus the joint and or as needed. And then, actually, that was the only substantial change. So it's any revisions, none of us have been here for that were of any substantiability, if that's a word, into this type of work. So no one sitting here today has missed really any skip or beat of progression or lack thereof of any of this work.
Thank you. And I think, if I can implore, we have, my colleagues and I have very open ears to any changes and just to making sure that we are in compliance with our own governance policies, but also making sure that we have these bylaws up to date. And so some of them, as you said, have not been up to date. So we are very much hungry for that.
Yeah, thank you, Trustee Dominguez. Member Binder, for the record. My only suggestion is I do like Mr. Caruso's idea of let's find a date and then schedule backwards from there. My only ask is when it comes, my concern is that we do prioritize this work because these governance policies put us back in cadence for 4 meetings a year, which Member Thornberry and Member Hammer, we did have a long discussion about the possibility of having to have like more increased meetings and things like that earlier in the year, and to keep that in mind because we had reappointment asks coming up for time and work, but to keep us on track to make sure that as we come into 2027, that we're not, because postponing the alignment of the superintendent's her own, oh my gosh.
Evaluation?
No, the, like your plan, I'm so sorry. Like
Strategic plan.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. As well as the vision of the board and, because it's not just us sitting here, we're supposed to complement and help everyone make the achievements of the goals that you guys are, slated for yourselves. And so my concern is just keeping the timeline and the priority to make sure that even if in October that this is the only thing on our agenda, because it is going to be a long discussion. Yeah. And so it's very thorough and intentional, and we're not distracted by, unless IA or the district needs us to look at anything.
It's going to be a very important piece of the agenda. I can't guarantee that it's going to be the only thing on the agenda, but I know I take it very seriously to making sure that we have this more up to date. And so, and I sense that my other committee members over here are feeling the same way about making sure that you guys are informed and making sure that you guys are able to do your job so you can help us.
And Member Binder, I only have one other thing. Do the proposed changes come back anonymously, or do you color code them into who made them? And the only reason I'm asking is I would request that it's anonymously so that there's no identifiability of who made the suggestion. I just think that it keeps a lot of neutrality.
We did that with the Board of Trustees, so we could, I mean, we kind of, I think we had a few different colors with staff, but I think we can have it one red or whatever the change is.
Just
Whatever
between
the color
staff
they-
and committee.
We'll have a color for staff and a color for committee members, so, okay, this sounds good. Oh,
Hi, Trustee
sorry,
Dominguez.
Superintendent.
If I may offer, since our team staffs all of you, to offer a framework is, today's Friday, August 14th, maybe give all of you 3 to 4 weeks, so September 14th. By no later than September 14th, you have all the information to Joe. And then also at the same time or prior to, give your dates that you're available in October. And then you have the October meeting, because yes, you do have the November meeting as well with the trustees. So you kind of got tasks in September, tasks in October. We can staff you, get all that information done, and yes, the color coding. And you can have a great meeting to hopefully round out the new bylaws and calendar.
Perfect. I like that deadline, and I'm going to add another deadline, is September 1st, is for everybody to get their dates in for October. I know that's still a month, but I think is that sufficient? We're all professionals. I think that could work. Okay, so September 1st is the deadline to reach back to Mr. Caruso for your October dates. We're looking at late October, and then Superintendent Ebert suggested 14 September for our updates and feedback and advice for the bylaws and calendar. I think we're good. So if anyone, go ahead, Ms. Binder.
Member Binder, I just, because you mentioned September or October 1st a couple times, if we're going to do anything around that date, I'd like to be very cautious because it's a time of great remembrance and
So that was previously mentioned, but now we are to September 1st and September 14th.
I just mean on when people are submitting their availability to be cognizant of October 1.
That was previously mentioned, and so now we're on September 1st, not October 1st. So I'll clarify. So submit your dates to Mr. Caruso for your October dates by September 1st, and then your suggestions and feedback for the bylaws by 14 September.
Okay, correct. I did understand that. I was just asking the committee members to be cognizant of October 1 when submitting their dates to Mr. Caruso, was all.
It'll be, you say October, and it's September 1st. I think you're mixing it up.
Okay, we are by September 1 supposed to provide our availability.
For late October.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Late October, everybody look at the last week, preferably.
That's what I missed.
Preferably, but second, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I'm looking around. Anybody else have any discussion? Ms. Hammer?
Member Hammer, for the record, I do not.
Thank you for staying with us. Mr. Thornberry?
Member Thornberry, I'll
Oh,
make a
hold on.
motion.
Wait,
or
not yet.
No.
We got to do.
Public comment.
I'm sorry. So we got to do a public speaker card. I do not see any. And so with that, we'll move into a motion.
Member Thornberry, make a motion to table this item with the condition that the Audit Advisory Committee members will have their dates and availability for a mid to late October meeting submitted to the board by close of business September 1st, and that all submissions for changes to the bylaws and calendar will be submitted by close of business on September 14th.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
Member Milo, second.
Okay, thank you. And we will go down the row.
Member Madzu, aye.
Member Thornberry, aye.
Member Binder, aye.
Member Maiello, aye.
Thank you. Ms. Hammer?
Member Hammer, aye.
Thank you. Okay, we are moving along. All right. And so we will close and go into 2.10, agenda item and future meetings. So we have discussed this already, Joe. So do we need to move into, we've discussed our next meeting. So I think we need to just move forward. So this is not an action item, so everybody feels good about the future meetings, so we will move on. And then, of course, before I open 3.01, is there anyone who did not get a chance to complete a public speaker card? No? Okay. Going once, going twice. All right. And so we're going into public comment. I do not see any. So with that, I would like to adjourn the meeting. Can I get a motion? Oh. Oh, I introduced you.
Oh.
I did. Thank you. Okay, so we will now be adjourning our meeting. If I can have a motion?
Member Madu, aye. Second the motion, sorry.
Make the motion to adjourn.
Oh, motion to adjourn, sorry.
Member Thornberry, second.
Okay, thank you. Oh, we got to vote? Okay, so we will go down and vote.
Member Madu, aye.
Member Thornberry, aye.
Member Binder, aye.
Member Maiello, aye.
Ms. Hammer?
Member Hammer, aye.
Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.